and welcome to episode 23 of the Nintendo Jump Podcast. We are a weekly discussion podcast created for Nintendo gamers by Nintendo gamers. It's the week of November 26th. My name is Kevin, and today I'm once again joined by Daryl.
What up?
And Sergio.
What's good, everyone?
Episode 23. What? How y'all doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
I got nothing. You know, it's just 23 and me. I don't know what to say.
Well, you know what? I actually just bought a 23andMe kit, so I am gonna figure out like my whole ancestry and all that. So I actually have it 3 feet
Figure
away
out
from me.
how to create a Kevin. Wow.
Well, no, not that, but I mean, pretty much trace my origins. So we'll see how cool that's gonna be. I'm real excited. But I was also thinking Michael Jordan because Michael Jordan wore number 23. You know, one of the best players of all time.
Nah, we already used up our basketball reference. We can't use it again.
Oh man.
No,
Well, that's
sorry.
all I got. Anyway, we got an awesome episode coming at you live. Well, not really live, but you know, we're recording, and we're going to talk about our top 5 game series all time, okay? Not all time, all time. And each of us are going to have our top 5. We're going to talk about the top game in each series, and it's going to be balling. It's going to be bomb.com, and we're going to start really soon, right here, right now, and that is going to be our episode. So with that being said, we're going to start with our 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 number 5s, then number 4s, then 3s, then 2s, and 1s. We might overlap. We might have the same ones. We don't know. You don't know. Maybe our number 1 is our number 5 or 2 and 4.
Yeah, we have not planned this.
We have not planned this. This is what I have in our notes, and we're going to be good to go. So we're going to start with Sergio. What is your number 5 top?
Number 5. You know, this was the toughest one to pick. Like the first 4 were easy.
I know, right?
It was like a little bit hard to put them in order, but having to decide which ones get the cut and you know which one makes it to number 5, and the title goes. Well, let me just say which one it cut. Number 6 was Rhythm Heaven. I'm sorry, I love it, but it just wasn't enough. And the one that was enough, Trauma Center.
Whoa.
Oh, hey. Okay.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So it's only because Trauma Center gives me a feeling that pretty much no other series has given me. Like, you know, it's kind of like a do or die type of feeling, although more accurately, it's do or the patient dies. But the biggest thing for me in this case, the controls make the series. So it started back in the DS, and the touch controls were absolutely perfect for the game. You know, you control different medical instruments, and you operate on your patients, and it worked really well. So that was for the first 2 games in the series, and then when it moved over to the Wii, the controls were at least as good, but actually I would say they improved because of the Wii Remote and motion controls. They were very precise, and everything worked just as well as on the DS, or even better.
Oh, nice.
So the first game on the Wii was a port of the first one from the DS, and then the Wii got a second game, an original one that had co-op, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the last game of the series, and my pick as a favorite, is called Trauma Team. And
Whoa.
basically it has 6 different games in one, if you deconstruct it that way. There's 2 that are kind of similar, but they're both still really good. There's one that is kind of it's diagnostics, and it's more of a it's like a guessing game or checking the symptoms. It's not the best, but everything else, it's really, really good. There's even an adventure type or visual novel type part of the game that it actually explores some really deep and sophisticated topics. So I really like the whole package. And if you guys or anybody listening hasn't played a Trauma Center game, here's your prescription. I recommend at least Trauma Team. You can get it on the Wii U Virtual Console. So there you go.
Hey, how much Trauma Team should I take? Is it like a once a day thing, or what are we looking at?
3 times a day?
A good balance is 3 hours a day.
Oh,
Okay.
that's not too bad. I think given our schedules, I think that's doable. 3 hours a day, man.
I haven't actually played any game in this series, and I'm kind of wondering if it's ever going to come back.
Yeah, I think it's dead.
No,
I
that
hope,
can't
I
be
hope
it.
not.
I mean,
I really hope not. No.
we've seen a lot of series get revived or just brought into attention for the Nintendo Switch. So, I mean, Trauma Center, I think it's a good candidate besides F-Zero. But, I think there's a chance.
Yeah, it made a lot of sense on the Wii U because of the separate controller with touchscreen and also motion. I can still see it working on the Switch. It would be interesting if they try to do it, if they try to make it so that it works with motion controls with the Joy-Con and also with touch controls if you're
Right.
playing in handheld. So, I mean, there's a challenge, Atlas. Can you answer it?
Hey, fair enough. I mean, Atlas has traditionally supported Nintendo pretty well, so
Yes.
fingers crossed. I think the Switch might be like what I do know about the series is that they really tried to push a lot of the hardware and the special features that each hardware
Right.
had.
Mhm.
Definitely.
So yeah, I think you brought this up before. I wonder what they could do with the portable versus docked gameplay. Like if they could do
Right.
something smart with that, it could be very hectic and kind of amazing in its own way.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Here's hoping. Here's hoping.
You're so
Okay.
good. Nice. So that is an awesome pick. I actually didn't expect you to say Trauma Center. Well, actually, I know you mentioned it before, but that's an awesome
Yeah,
pick.
I
And
think
then,
it's my most like out there choice there is. That kind of sort of expected.
yeah, it's interesting because I think through all the people I've talked to with who are gamers and stuff I don't think I've heard anyone talk about Trauma Center like you do, and I think it's great that you really embrace that sort of game, and hopefully more people can have more attention about it, and hopefully it'll come on the Switch.
Yes.
And with that being said, Daryl,
Yo.
what is your number 5 series? Yeah.
Okay, so my entire list is pretty obvious, and I apologize for that, but hey, I like good games. What can I say?
Yeah.
So what I landed on is my number 5 series of all time is Metroid,
Whoa.
Ooh, nice.
That is a great choice.
which is it was kind of hard for me to put it at number 5 because
Crap.
2 of the games in the series would probably end up in my overall top 10 list. The problem is after those 2 games, it kind of drops off real hard.
oh yeah.
But I really like the series, and honestly, I love when you go back to what the series actually is, and those 2 games being Super Metroid and Metroid Prime. I love the feeling of just like exploring and just being kind of alone, and you don't know anything at all about this planet or what's going to happen, and there's a lot of surprises. There's a lot of really, really nice world building and stuff that they've put in there. Just as little nods back and forth to this is a cool world. It's a neat place to be. The games are typically pretty tight and compact. Like I mentioned, this Super Metroid you can beat in half a dozen hours pretty easily.
Mhm.
But those are some of the greatest gaming moments ever packed into that time frame, and a bunch of them. Like if you remember back to Super Metroid, there's a ton of moments in that game that just they're awesome. Like the first Kraid battle, the actual Ridley battle, the opening of the game, and a bunch of others areas. And then if you look at Prime, then you're talking the first time you step out into Fendrana or the Down Frigate Orpheon, which we had amazing music from and such. Both those games just have these amazing moments,
Mhm.
kind of packed into these tight packages. And honestly, I love the series. If I'm gonna pick best game in the series, I gotta go with kind of the original best, which is Super Metroid. Ultimately, it's probably an overall top 5 game to me. I just think every time I play it, I kind of notice something else smart that they did in the level design, the world building, and just the mechanics that you have. The game still feels fun to play. I'm still kind of discovering stuff about it. It's just a very, very well made game and kind of a hallmark of gaming as a whole, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you said all of that and like just the music too, especially, I find myself in situations playing Metroid games where it has that, that eerie, that vibe, but it feels like, everything's gonna be okay. I don't know, like something about it just gets me going. With other Nintendo games. Like I don't feel that same sort of vibe. So I think it's pretty unique on its own.
Mm. Yeah, and you know what stands out to me in this series is that the 2D games and the 3D games feel really different for the
Yeah.
most part, but the parts that they share, the Metroidness, the essence of Metroid, it's really good and it's perfectly balanced.
Hmm.
So it's different gameplay, different style, but you can tell it's a Metroid game. They carry over the same goodness between them. So good.
Hmm.
Daryl, though, I gotta ask, what do you think of Other M?
Actually, I liked it. Like,
Mm.
Oh,
it came out, it got hated, and I honestly, I didn't mind it too much. Like, obviously, the baby, the baby, the baby, but it was just one of those things, and it had some kind of screwy segments where you had to like pick out little areas in this hunt section that I eventually had to Google to figure out how to get through it. But I thought the gameplay was good. I had a good time with it, much more so than it got hated. For the record, I also enjoyed Federation Force. So,
oh
you
yeah.
know, I
Mm.
just, I don't know. I give the series the benefit of the doubt most of the time, and generally it works out in my favor.
Nice.
Good stuff. Well, with that being said, I got my number five, and now you're probably thinking Trails in the Sky, right? No, it's not Trails in the Sky. For one thing, it is an honorable mention for me for that one, just because of just what I felt with the characters and the gameplay and the way everything connected together. But I cannot put it as my number five because I haven't finished the whole series. But you guys might be surprised, but my number five is Ace Attorney. Ace Attorney,
Oh, okay.
Oh.
yeah, when I first played it back on the Game Boy Advance, like the first few, and something about being a lawyer, being a part of Phoenix Wright's journey, and just and even the fourth game where something crazy happens to him, and he's trying to get his his badge back, or yeah, I guess
Yeah.
his license to practice, just things like that, and the visual novel scheme, the way it's a lot of point and click, and for me, I'm a big point and click kind of person, playing games from, Day of the Tentacle, Grim Fandango, which were developed by Tim Schafer and other people. Well, mainly Tim Schafer as the mastermind behind those. And for me, Ace Attorney just has that same vibe, but in the more of a lawyer sense, and just going through the cases and how dramatic it could be, saying like objection. Just it always gets to me when I'm playing on my GBA and even with my DS. And I gotta say my favorite though, it's not Spirit of Justice, even though it's the latest one that I played. But I really like Dual Destinies. I felt like
Yes.
it just had all the culmination of all the characters, or most of them, and I gotta say honorable mention to the one where Miles Edgeworth was the defense attorney, which I thought was pretty crazy because you see him as a prosecutor, but then with the story he comes back as a defense attorney. It's like, whoa, that's crazy. But yeah, with Dual Destinies, I think it just had a nice like culmination of the trials and tribulations, and I think that being able to play this sort of visual novel, going through, like I said, going through the cases, it being sort of a detective at sorts, like, and for me, like I love that
Right.
sort of
Right.
feeling, like for me, like one of my favorite animes is Detective Conan, or Case Closed in English, and so I just enjoy, even though it was just a lot of point and click and just going through all the evidence, like I always had get a good kick out of it, so that's my number five.
Nice.
Nice.
Hmm.
Yeah, and those games have a lot of really cool humor, but also the way that the cases develop, and they always say, "Oh, you have to turn the case on its head," and
Right.
they come up with these crazy explanations that eventually make sense. I love that. Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites too.
Yeah, for sure. It's just all this, dramatic like scenes, and like how it may be impossible to win the case, but then for some reason, you know, this piece of evidence becomes this key to the whole thing. It's like, man,
Yeah.
like this is crazy. I don't know. There, I don't think there's another series like Ace Attorney. I
No,
mean,
that's right.
one of those things. So
Nice. Good pick.
yeah, y'all were expecting Trails of the Sky, right? I mean, no, I thought about it. I thought about it, but no. Ace Attorney is my favorite. Fifth favorite. Excuse me. I know that this beats out the Mario series. This beats out the Legend of Zelda series, and I'm sorry to say about that, but I know,
Wow.
but I mean, you'll see. Okay, so that's my number 5. We're gonna go with the number 4s right now. So going back to Lieutenant Surge. Boom. What is your number 4?
You just kind of mentioned it. It's Zelda.
Yo, there we go.
Zelda number 4.
Number 4.
So here's the thing that like the highest praise that I can give to Zelda. So I used to play games in until I was like 10 years old, and after I played my first Zelda game, which was Ocarina of Time, at that point I became a gamer. I learned, the difference between a good game and a masterpiece. And like I said before, I think Ocarina of Time is the closest thing to a perfect game. I mean, it's definitely my favorite Zelda. And by then I had played other games like Super Mario World and Mario RPG, even Yoshi's Island, but Ocarina of Time, it was really an eye opener. And the funny thing about the series, though, to me, is that I'm kind of glad that I used to like it more. So it used to be higher on my list, and that kind of reminds me that I used to be a smarter gamer, at least. Nowadays maybe not so much. But at least it used to be, and I always have that. So yeah, Zelda, and my favorite Ocarina of Time by far.
I mean, it's hard to argue with the greatest of all time. It really, really is.
Yeah. I mean, it was way ahead of its time, from the 3D to the adventure, the music. I mean, can't forget that. And it's it's a it's a pretty good one.
Nice.
Cool. So that is number 4 for Sergio. But Daryl, what you got for number 4?
All right, so my number 4 gaming series of all time is the Mega Man series. Hey!
Whoa!
So
That's a good one.
Now, saying something like the Mega Man series is like there's roughly 472 games in the Mega Man series, but I'm talking. I honestly, if you look at the series as a whole, I really liked the classics. I really liked the X series up to a point. I really like the Zero games. I really like Battle Network. If you just kind of include all that as the series, you got a bunch of different styled games, generally action games, with the exception of the Battle Network series. And in my opinion, some of the best ones ever made. So if I'm gonna go with favorite in the series, I've actually got kind of a non-traditional pick. A lot of people would say Mega Man 2 or maybe Mega Man 3, which is, in my opinion, the best of the classic series. Some people would say Mega Man X or X2. I'm actually going with Mega Man X4. And
Whoa.
I've mentioned this before, but it really just comes down to it is an extremely well-made game with really questionable voice acting, which just honestly makes me laugh at this point. And it's balanced for both Zero and X, who you can just pick at the beginning and play through it. I think I've made the comment already. If every game could control exactly like Zero does in Mega Man X4, I'd be a happy person. I love the way it controls. I like the way the levels are designed. I really like the bosses and the powers and such in that game. Just for whatever reason, that's the one that clicks with me. It's one of my favorite action games of all time.
Do you find yourself revisiting Mega Man X4 and just every now and then, even when you're taking a break from other games, like you just like, oh, I'm gonna play that X4 again?
I didn't for a long time because pretty much I had it on PlayStation 1.
Right.
And I did get the collection on GameCube, but again, it's been a while since my GameCube has been set up, so I didn't until I got the new collection and the Mega Man X collection on Switch, actually, where I got it, I didn't even play Mega Man X, X2, X3, no, I jumped straight to 4, played through it,
Wow.
and it still feels amazing, so I was really, it's kind of one of those confirming type games. And then I played X5 and I thought it was trash, and then I got sad. But
Whoa.
I do think X4 is an absolutely incredible game, and in my opinion, one of the hallmarks of action platformers for sure.
No, definitely. I mean, there's a reason why a lot of people all over the world love Mega Man. I mean, it is just a beloved series, and to think that someone with these sort of powers that you can shoot out your arm and just being able to, conquer all these sort of different kinds of characters. I mean, it's definitely one to remember. And with that being said, my number 4 is definitely memorable, as for sure. And I'm hoping we'll see if you guys have this in your list as well. But Super Smash Brothers, man, I think that's my number 4.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think just from because it's one of those series like you have like a gang of characters, just from different sorts of, like with like Ness, like Earthbound. I never even knew who Ness was until I played Super Smash Brothers on the N64, and just being able to duke it out with different, with the moveset that's simple to learn but hard to master. I feel like just throughout the years, like Super Smash Brothers has just that sort of charm, with it's like the most charming fighter in all of gaming history. I think it is. And with Melee, with Brawl, and the fourth in the Wii U. It's hard to pick a favorite one. It's definitely between Melee and Brawl. Brawl because I had a lot of fun with my college housemates. And those friends, like we love playing that, especially with some of my college friends, where we would just play for hours at a time. I had a friend who loved playing Ike, and I loved playing with Toon Link and Mario, and just things like that. I feel like it's tough, but and then with Melee, with my high school friends at home, like they love playing Melee, so. It's a coin toss, but I gotta say Melee. I think that just having with the competitive side of things too, like it has a slight edge over Brawl for me, just because of the competitive side and
Sure.
being a game that you can master and get good at. It's tough to say with the fourth in the series because I didn't really have that many opportunities to play with it. I mean,
Right.
given the situation I had, and but I can't wait for the fifth one. With the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, I mean, it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait with all the characters, and it's just amazing that it's like what 8-9 days.
No, time check from the time that you're listening to this, it'll be 1 week.
It'll be 1 week. Holy shoot! Like for real. I mean, man. But
well, I mean, I've said it before. Super Smash Brothers is really, it's just a celebration of everything that Nintendo is, to the point that I spent hours listening to some new remixes and stuff from the game over the past week that came out. I mean, I'm hearing like these new Mega Man songs and things, and I'm really enjoying what I'm hearing. Like they're taking these 8-bit songs and actually turning them into what I think the developers probably wanted them to be originally, considering Mega Man is Rockman,
yeah.
And they sound incredible, and it is such an enjoyable collection of what Nintendo is, kind of wrapped up as this actually really deep, really fun fighting game.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing like it.
There isn't.
It's alone in the marketplace for a really good reason, and it's gonna be huge. Nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, so we got our 5s and 4s. Now we're gonna go with the 3s. Sergio, what is your number 3?
Super Smash Brothers. Let's keep talking about
Yo!
it.
All right.
There we
All
go. Yo.
So yeah, number 3, and Daryl, you stole my line, but the first thing I think of it is it's a celebration of everything that Nintendo does, and actually, even more so, it's a celebration of gaming as a whole. Maybe not so much Sony and Microsoft side, but the third parties are here too. And funny thing, this series brings out my most aggressive side as a gamer. I don't want to just win. I want to destroy my opponent.
Oh no.
In some ways, it's a good thing because you're developing that competitive side, and I think it's important to have gain that confidence in a game that can push yourself to the limit. And I think like you said, yes, it is a celebration of all these characters. It's like a unit. It's like pretty much a unity of all these characters from different backgrounds into one, and I think that's
Yeah.
always going to be important in gaming history as a whole. So.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it has so much. It has characters from all over the place that
Hmm.
you're gonna connect with a couple of them more than others because they have your other favorite series in it, like Animal Crossing, Zelda, Pokemon. Like, for
Hmm.
me, my main it used to be Link back when I liked Zelda more,
Oh,
like I
nice.
said, and then now it's Pikachu. Pikachu only, soon to be also Pichu. Looking forward to that.
Hmm.
So yeah, and okay, so the one that I played the most was Brawl. The
Hmm.
one that I think is the best is actually the one for the Wii U, but my
Mm.
favorite it has to be also Melee because of the hype around it, and the fact that that's when I played my most competitive with local friends. Actually, Danny and I ran a tournament at our high school. I
Oh,
think either
nice.
Danny ended up
Whoa,
winning or second place. So yeah, we were really into it.
that's awesome, man. I mean that really shows the passion that y'all have with a game that like in the beginning it seemed like it was just like a party game, but then the grassroots movement of Melee, and then just the whole like everybody conglomerated together into making a competitive environment, and for you to embrace it in that such a way, I think it's incredible. So. And obviously we have our resident pro in Daryl, and I'm proud to have someone like
Huh?
like Daryl in our corner, to have that experience, to be able to go to tournaments and to compete in various parts of the United States. So we have a lot going right here, so I think it's
Yes,
great.
Nice. That's an okay
nice.
pick, I guess.
Yeah. So, Daryl, what is your number 3 series?
All right, my number 3 series is also the newest series on my list. It has to come down to Splatoon.
Mm.
Nice.
So, Splatoon shocked me, to be honest. I didn't expect it at all when it was revealed at E3 a few years ago for the Wii U. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oh man, that's gonna be huge." Yeah, what Nintendo did with that game is they took this competitive shooter and completely removed all of the objectives that most competitive shooters have, which is hilarious to me. Like it's such a Nintendo thing to do. Meanwhile, they also added like these extremely deep mechanics as far as like painting walls and swimming up them and hiding in your own ink and sub weapons and the concept that you have to paint the ground your color or you can't really move very well through it and stuff like that. That's just
Mhm.
Hmm.
it's a complete rewrite of what a competitive shooter actually is, to the point that it doesn't even feel like any other game in kind of the genre, I want to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
They also kind of added some kind of low key MOBA elements to it, just this 4 on
Mhm.
4, trying to control a single
Yes.
area, that kind of thing. Like I don't know, it's a really neat way that they did it. Also, the characters that they actually introduced for it, so the Inklings themselves, and all the named characters,
Mhm.
they, I don't know, they feel so fresh. Not, I mean, pardon the pun, and and new, but also so core Nintendo that seeing Inkling in Smash and Mario Kart, it just makes sense. I mean, it just fits, and that's kind of magic to me. Because they tried that again with Arms, and honestly, it doesn't fit as well. I don't see
Yeah.
Springman in the same light as I
Mm.
do like Inklings, and that's okay. I like Arms and I like the characters, but it's definitely different. Whereas this feels like core Nintendo. Uh, but just getting into the gameplay, I mean, it's just fun. It is the most fun I've ever had with a shooter. Second place there would be something like Team Fortress 2, but
Mhm.
it's kind of this class based MOBA style third person stealth control based shooter game, and it's just awesome. Like it plays really well. It's one of those games that people you typically hear people say, I don't really like shooters, but I love Splatoon. It's just
Yes.
they also have this sense of style with the clothing and such. It hits so well on so many levels. Had to be on my list. And it honestly,
Mm.
it's on both games would be on some lists just in my mind
Hmm.
for best games. If I'm gonna pick one, I gotta go with 2. I just
Mhm.
think Splatoon 2
Oh,
is
really?
yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. I think Splatoon 2 is actually just an improvement over what Splatoon 1 was. It's got more, just more and more
More.
and more. Uh, the only thing I could really say for Splatoon 1 that I miss are some of the stages and just the way some of the weapons feel like they were a little bit differently balanced, but
Mhm.
d- I mean, to the point that I have more weapons that I can play and more stages to play on, and just
Mhm.
a better controller and in my opinion, much better special weapons and things like that. Uh, yeah, I gotta give the nod to 2. I think it's an utterly fantastic game and probably a top 3 game on the Switch right now for me.
I think it's one of the
Nice.
most unique games I've ever played in my life. I mean, and like a shooter, like when you think of shooters, like yeah, you think of like Counter Strike, Call of Duty, Battlefield, and all that, and it's like you know, Splatoon has that charm, like you said, like it has that flair, and it's a like a different, these characters are so unique and just um it's like I think it's the only shooter that I've played where I just never get mad for losing or for because for Call of
Oh, I
Duty, I
do.
mean, oh you do? Oh
Oh,
okay,
I
well,
do. Yeah.
I mean, but I mean, it's there's not a lot of
Stand on
BS.
the tower. Yeah.
Well, there's not a lot of BS that you can complain about. Like
No,
because
that's
with
true.
Call of Duty, I feel like there is a lot of that. Sorry for Call of Duty fans, but just from my personal experience, I actually regret not playing Splatoon 1. I wish I did, especially when I played Splatoon 2, and I did miss out on a lot of Wii U games at the time. And I and giving they keep giving this really good content, like with the Splatfest and the new weapons. Like they always try to find a way to spice it up to like just reinvigorate the fan base,
Yes.
and I think that's just very important for a game like Splatoon. So kudos to them. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And that's also one of my biggest regrets or possible regrets. And what I mean by that is, yeah, so I didn't play Splatoon 1,
Hmm.
but in a way I do regret it. In another way, I wonder if I would have enjoyed Splatoon 2 less because if I had played 1 a lot.
Oh.
So, who knows, but I didn't want to allow myself to put it in the series because I didn't play the first one. So basically, I only played half of the series. I just couldn't bring myself. But if I could have, I would have. Yeah, it would have definitely been in my top 5. And like they're all said, I think it's really clear that whenever somebody plays Splatoon, if they have no idea, they're gonna expect, oh, this has to be like the sixth or seventh entry in the series because there's so many mechanics that work so well and they're so polished and refined, and then you find out that it's only the first one or the second one, and it's like, what? This is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah.
It just
Um,
it just hits so well. And
mhm.
Yes.
y- yeah, there were a lot of comments on Splatoon 2 kind of being Splatoon 1.5 or whatever. Honestly, that's all nonsense. Like to me that it doesn't make any more sense than any other sequel game that kind
Yeah.
of looks like its previous
Exactly.
game,
Heck,
especially when you
even
play it.
Smash.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you play it, it feels so much different just in the way the different weapons actually play. There's
Mhm.
more stuff here, like there's just literally more modes and more things to do, more weapons, all different specials, which in my opinion are just better balanced and more
Yes.
fun for the game. So yeah, I think 2 is a masterpiece, and I think if you've played 2, you don't really have a reason to go back and play 1 now, especially
Right.
considering how online focused it is.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I didn't feel like I was tired of the series or anything. What I did when I came on to Splatoon 2, I picked it up. I was like, oh, yeah, it's still Splatoon. This is great.
Mhm.
Okay, now let's go. And then I dumped a few more 100 hours into it. So it's just one of those series that it'll be up on my list for a long, long time.
Nice.
I just want to mention one thing. Daryl, you mentioned how like people who aren't usually big on shooters, they love Splatoon. I think Chewy is a great example of that. And from the last podcast, he talks about how he was so like really enjoying being competitive in a game that he didn't even expect to be competitive in. So I think it's a great gateway into being more competitive in a game that is very charming. So uh, kudos to that. And
Oh yeah. Quick quick shout out to Chewy saying that his two favorite games are Animal Crossing and Splatoon, which are both made by
Yeah.
the same development group. Hey,
Hey, that's what's up.
they create magic. There you go.
With that being said, there is another game that does have that sort of magic in my heart. With my number 3, the Super Mario. Excuse me, not Super, just the Mario Kart series in general.
Oh.
Okay.
I talked about before when I first started playing Super Mario Kart. It was the first time in my life where, there was no bad guy, there was no good guy or person or bad person, good person. It was just more about, just a string of characters from the Mario series that just competed in races, and you got Bowser, you got Peach, you got DK, Mario, Luigi, Koopa. I'm Toad. I'm definitely missing somebody, but with the first game, like, and even with the music too, it's like wow. And there's like 2-player, and we're able to. It was like my first foray into racing games, along with F-Zero.
Oh, nice.
And just having the fact that there's no hero or villain, it was just like competition, and it really got my juices going as a little kid, being able to compete, even with like just playing against the computer, and just playing over the
Yeah.
years with the 64 series, we're from the N64, and then Double Dash, and even Super Circuit on the GBA, and Mario Kart 7, and then Mario Kart 8 and 8 Deluxe. I mean, it's just like it just gets better and better, and I think I spend the most hours on my Switch playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. To be honest with you, I mean
Oh wow.
it's I never get tired of playing Mario Kart. I don't think there's ever a period of time. I mean, my favorite in the series, it's tough. It's between Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Mario Kart DS. I spent so many hours playing Mario Kart
Good
DS,
choice. Good choice.
but the one thing that I have to say I didn't really like about Mario Kart DS in terms of competitive standpoint was the snaking thing. It was really
Oh,
easy.
yes.
Yeah, that's what killed me, but for a little bit. And that's why I have to tie between Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Mario Kart DS, because
Mhm.
it was really easy to abuse the snaking ability. You can snake all around the track, and snaking, by what I'm saying, is it means that you're able to drift all the way and just be able to take any. You can drift in the straightaways, you can drift in the corners, you can just drift the whole way, and it just didn't make it as fun. So
And you're
you know,
getting
we-
little boosts for it as you go. So technically, you're going faster by zigzagging across the
Yeah.
the lane,
Right.
which is a little screwy to think about.
right, exactly. So I guess without that part, I mean, it is a really awesome game. But I think that Mario Kart 8 Deluxe it's just a great mesh of everything that I love about Mario Kart. You know, with the racing, and just being able to compete with you guys and other people that we know in our online gaming community. So,
Hey, speaking
just-
of, we started up Mario Kart Mondays.
we did.
So definitely check our Twitter and our Discord for a code to get into our little tournament. It's just for
Mhm.
fun. But this last Monday we had something like 8 or 9 people going at once. It was a lot of fun. I actually
Yes.
really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So we plan to continue. Please join us for Mario Kart Mondays. It's quite fun.
Please do. And like, can you think of another game that you're able to throw shells or banana peels and stuff? Like, no, like
Sure.
it's just
Smash.
it's super. It's super. Oh, you can? Okay. But I mean, maybe not have the same charm as, like,
Right.
a Mario Kart game. I mean, it's just like
It's not as satisfying.
it's not satisfying. No, I mean,
I can't think of another game where I can be winning a race and get hit by 3 lightning bolts and a blue shell. That's pretty
Oh,
cool.
I mean, that's that comes with the territory. But anyway, so that's my number 3. And
Nice.
ooh, we're going to, we got number 2s and number 1s now. So this is gonna be. I'm pretty curious to see what y'all
It's
gonna
the
say.
final countdown.
So.
Yeah.
Yo, there we go. So with that being said, Sergio, what is your number 2?
Number 2 goes to Pokemon.
Yo, there we go.
Nice. So yeah, and a big part of it is actually the connections that I built with the people that also play and love and live and breathe Pokemon because it's a phenomenon by itself. So I mentioned in the past that I grew up with my cousin Jorge, and he taught me a lot about Pokemon, and we shared a lot of experiences and fun
Mm-hmm.
times playing it together. Um, it's also very interesting to me that a lot of people have dropped off of the series because either it got too competitive or they got too much into the competitive side, and now it's either that or nothing. And for the most part, now for them, it's nothing. So it's interesting to me, and I kind of feel like the people that are still playing the Pokemon games, those are friends for life. And in the few or the bunch that have dropped along the way, I'm like, dude, come on, what are you doing?
Oh, thank God I'm still playing.
Yes, exactly, man.
I mean, excuse me. Thank goodness. uh,
Now, that being said, so I do enjoy the mainline series, but I also really enjoy most of the spin-offs. And but going back to the mainline series, though, my favorite is Generation 4, the Sinnoh region with Diamond and Pearl. It has, it's more on the basic formula side. It's not too flashy, not too fancy, not too many brand new features, but it does have some flair to the graphics. And the best part about it to me is the music. The soundtrack in that game is amazing. I cannot
mm.
wait. It's basically the next one in the queue for a remake, and I really hope it's on the Switch. I mean, Pokemon, keep doing what you're doing. Like I said, I think on last episode, I'm gonna keep forgiving it, no matter how many shortcomings it has, and it has a lot. I can tell you that. But just keep doing that, and I'll be there, and I cannot wait.
You know, despite my 1,000-hour rants last podcast,
It's
I
not for you, Kevin.
it's not for me. But uh, you know, I'm sorry if Pokemon isn't in my top 5, but it definitely is in my top 10 in terms of just what I've been able to get
It's
out
in
of
my
it.
top heart.
Oh yeah. you know, it, like I'm still playing Let's Go Eevee. Hashtag Team Eevee, and
Eevee forever.
Eevee forever. Yeah, Sergio likes that. No, he's a, he's all Pikachu and it's all good. Much love. Pikachu's awesome too. I have well Raichu. Anyway, so I just love the camaraderie that Pokemon, brings with the people you play with. I think it's important to have that,
Yes.
and clearly, Game Freak did something right here, and it's always going to be an important part of history with Pokemon. And even though it may not be for a lot of people now, a lot of kids who do play Pokemon now, they are gonna get that same experience that we did back when we played Red and Blue, and I think that's really important to have. So,
Yes.
Nice, good pick.
hmm all right. So Daryl, what is your number 2?
All right, so this is where my list gets a little surprising in that
Oh.
my number 2 game of all time or game series of all time is Super Smash Brothers. So
Yes.
not surprising that it's on the
Oh.
list, but surprising that it may not be number 1. If you know me. So you guys already pretty much covered what Smash Brothers is, and I'm not gonna change that. But just for me, it's been such a pivotal part of my life. It's been how I've developed a lot of my friendships and how I've really gotten through a lot of where I am today, including who I married.
Right.
I met
Right.
indirectly through
Mm.
Smash. So it's just one of those series that's I'm kind of tied to. I'm ridiculously excited for Ultimate, and I'm eager to see what the future of Smash kind of looks like. So that said, I had to pick a favorite game in the series, and
Mm.
really for me it comes down to two, and it comes down to the Smash Melee, which is the kind of the old standard, and Wii U, which is
Mm.
the newest one I've played. And honestly, I think you can make a really strong argument for either of them. I really do. I think Wii U is a terrific game overall. That there's some stuff in it, Bayonetta, that it gets a little dumb here and there, and that in my opinion that's okay. I appreciate dumb. We can work with it. But ultimately, again, no pun intended. I've got to go back to Melee, and
Mm.
the reason I have to go back to Melee is the game that changed everything, right? So that is the
Right.
game that defined what Smash Brothers could be. And it's the game that it's kind of that carrot that they've been chasing ever since, in that, the developers almost got upset about how big of a competitive game it got and made
Right.
some changes in Brawl to actually prevent that, which is
Right.
a really odd thing. And then slowly they've been kind of turning back into what Melee brought. And that's one reason I'm so excited about Ultimate, is because they're bringing some features and some things from Melee to Ultimate. Like, they've sped up the game a lot, and
Oh, yeah.
they've changed a lot of the dodging mechanics and stuff to make it feel a little bit more offensive as a game. Actually, a lot more offensive as a game. There's a lot of confirms into kill moves out of like light attacks and stuff, which it's awesome. I mean, it looks awesome. It plays really well. There's been a lot of hype, as quoting people, this is the best Smash game since Melee, and that's at one point, you don't want to be too short-sighted, but honestly, yeah, it really, really looks good. But so far, yeah, my opinion for best in the series, just best playing, most interesting balance, and most interesting to watch and play, Melee. It's gotta be Melee.
It's all Melee. And I there was that 4-hour documentary about the Super Smash, Melee scene, with Ken, and you have Mewtwo King, Korean DJ, and Hungry Box and Mango, and I remember I watched this like a while back, and it just made me appreciate the community and the competitive scene a lot more with Melee, and there were some things I didn't even know about until I watched that documentary. I mean, have you guys watched it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like
the funny thing about that documentary is I was actually there for some of it.
whoa,
Like here and there. I'm not in the documentary from what I can tell, but I was at some of the events that are featured. Just especially when they're talking about like the Asin versus Kin stuff early in the documentary. I saw a lot of that.
Dude.
So it's kind of cool to kind of go back and relive history a little bit,
Yeah, and then just hearing about guys that I've never even heard about, like Isaiah and PC Chris, I'm like, whoa, this is, and then it's amazing, and I'm really glad that Super Smash is the series itself is in this place right now, and there's just so much hype going on with this series. So, oh man, next Friday,
1
holy shoot! Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this, Sergio, you got Friday off, didn't you?
Yes.
And I also got Friday off, and I also got Monday off. So next week, we're gonna advertise our friend codes a little bit. Please come join us for next weekend and play some games. I think this is gonna be an event, so we're gonna treat it as an event. Please come play, and it should be a lot of fun.
I apologize, I don't have Friday off, but I am hosting a lunch party at work.
Nice.
With, one of my coworkers who actually listens to his podcast, and we actually talked about it earlier today, and he loves listening to us, and we're gonna be
shout out to you.
I'm gonna say his name. Shout out to James. He's a pretty cool guy, and he's a big gamer just like us, and James is a big Super Smash person, and
Nice.
he really does appreciate just the stuff that we've been talking about, and yeah, he's a big fan of ours now, and really glad that he's part of the community. So
Nice.
shout out to you, James,
And-
if you're listening.
And one more comment. This is big, potentially. I am reaching out to other podcasts
Yes.
to try to schedule a crew battle of sort, podcast versus podcast, hosts and listeners. We're gonna do this kind of funny. We're gonna get some people playing in the Discord and try to form a little kind of tryout tournament thing to get a place on this crew for a potential crew battle against other podcasts. I'm waiting on a response from a couple people to actually get it scheduled. The challenge is out there, so if it's not accepted, Nintendo Jump forever. We're just the best. So,
Oh,
uh,
yo, you know what? We're just-
but I will be having some form of tryout tournament thing. Just it's all for fun. It's all gonna be for fun. But if you want a spot on the crew, it would be I've played a few of these in person and one online, and it's a really fun time. So please join us. It should be an experience.
Yo, I gotta tell my coworker friend James about this. I'm sure he's gonna be pretty hyped, man. We'll be ready. I'm sure everybody who participates is gonna be ready. Oh man, it's exciting! I can't believe we're gonna have a crew. Like, holy shoot! I don't know.
It'll
This
be
is what I
fun.
live for. This is what I live for. And it's just I can't wait. It's gonna be great. And with that being said, we're gonna go to the next number two. Man, we talked a lot about Smash. I mean, there's just that commonality. But anyway, my number two, it's gonna be the Uncharted series. The Uncharted
Okay.
series from Naughty Dog, and it's known as it's a third person action adventure shooter. I have a lot of fun with the series, just the characters and the adventures, and it does help with the graphics because when I first got my PS3 and getting Uncharted 2 a few months later, I was just in awe of not just the beauty of the backgrounds and the graphics, but which is not the most important thing to me, but more importantly the story and just the dialogue between characters back and forth with Nathan Drake and Elena and then Chloe, who's my personal favorite. I actually met the cast of the Uncharted crew back in PSX 2017, which is one of the best things ever. Like, oh my gosh, I've talked to you guys about it.
Wow.
It's so dope. Like, oh man, like just having having the stuff that I brought, signed, and then like my college homie David, he helped me get one of my things signed, and I had two things that I wanted the crew to sign, and I gave David my signed copy of the Uncharted Lost Legacy uh cover thing. So it's definitely a piece of memory that he's gonna cherish, and then I have my signed Uncharted 4 artwork book, and oh, it's so awesome. Like, I'm so glad we got a chance to get our stuff signed and just meet the crew, and just something about Uncharted, just with the like even with the multiplayer series, like I feel like the multiplayer aspect is underrated. Like compared to like Call of Duty and Battlefield. Like I wish more people play it more, and um the way that Naughty Dog brings out all these worlds together. Like you go to like different kinds of places in Europe and in Africa and in Asia, it's just, or even like, well, excuse me, maybe not. I don't think it was Asia, but it was just more about like just different parts of the world that
Hmm.
you may not even realize existed, and even in stories too. So just man. Okay, excuse me. South America. Excuse me. Sorry, that was the one I was talking about. They're
Yep.
just they just paint such a great picture of these characters who are adventurers, and like Nathan Drake, man, that guy is an athlete. Like, holy shit, like he's climbing different areas and like jumping off cliffs, and like, man, this guy's a marathon man. I mean, and then even Elena and Chloe, like they are very strong characters in themselves, and with Sully, this old guy who guides Nathan, and just even the villains too. Like I'd say Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, that is my favorite of the bunch.
Oh,
There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's Lost Legacy, and then there's like one on the PSP which I totally forgot the name. Oh, Golden Abyss, something like that. But Uncharted 2, my favorite out of the series. I mean, I still have it back home, and it's just one of my favorite adventure games of all time. So
Nice.
if you guys have a chance to play it, I mean, you definitely gotta play it. So
nice.
yeah.
Here we are.
Whoo, boy. I mean, number ones. Here we go. Number one, Sergio. What is your number one?
Call of Duty.
Yo,
No,
Hey!
wait, yo, that's mine though. No, I'm just kidding. It's not mine. Joe.
Jokes.
Oh.
No, it is Animal Crossing.
Yo, there we go.
That's right. So I've talked so much about Animal Crossing. To me, it's not. I mean, I know it's a game, okay, but to me, it's more than that. It's a state of being. It's like being on vacation. I always resort to that, and it's so true. So whenever a new Animal Crossing game comes out, and I play it for like 1 or 2 years straight, I feel like I'm on vacation. I'm going to work,
Mhm.
5 days a week, but in my mind, I'm on vacation. That's how I feel. Like everything is just better because of Animal Crossing, man.
There we go.
So it's super relaxing for sure. It's very funny also. It's a really good game and a really good series to play while listening to podcasts. Actually, hint hint.
Mm. No, oh,
And it evokes all sorts of feelings. You're gonna be sad at some points. You're gonna be happy at a lot of points. You're even gonna be angry sometimes. Things happen there, and it's everything good in life. It's there in Animal Crossing. It's a really good balance of you can play a little bit every day, like on a more on the casual side, or you can play for like 8 hours a day, like I did for a while. You can play for like 1,000 hours in total, and you can decide where you want to stand on that line, and regardless of where you end up, it's gonna be a great time. And of course, my favorite in the series is the newest, which is New Leaf for the 3DS. They
mm.
just added so many things on that game to the series that just work so perfectly, and they made a lot of sense. So New Leaf is definitely the best one, and we're finally getting a new one for the Switch in 2019. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to a 2 or 3 year vacation again, man. It's been a while. I need it.
Yo, I mean, I am definitely not surprised, obviously, because when I first met you, you had this book, of like your Animal Crossing moments, and I was just like, wow, this is a legitimate like number one fan. Like, if you're not the number one fan, I don't know who is. Like this, you like it's like if it's amazing to me because you're with the dedication that you bring to this game and the joy that you get, all the pictures. I was like, wow, like this is a true fan. I mean, man, oh goodness.
Well, and it's also kind of cool to think that your favorite one is the newest one. So in
Right.
theory, this next one coming out is gonna be like mind
Oh
blowing.
my
Like
goodness. Yeah.
like
Exactly.
you didn't really have an Animal Crossing brawl. You know that kind of
Right.
kind of divided the series a little bit. So it's just kind of neat to keep seeing improvements like that.
hmm
Right. Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's what's up. And Daryl, what is your number one game series?
Okay, I had to do it, and
Mm.
there's only really one game series that could have topped Smash here, and it is rather obviously The Legend of Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the reason I put it up there is Zelda has a lot of games too. Like I made the funny comment about Mega Man, but Zelda does have a lot of games and entries and even spin-offs and coming into like Triforce Heroes and Four Swords and things. The kicker here is that m- like the vast majority of them are actually really really good
Mm-hmm.
games.
Yes.
Like Triforce Heroes was kind of a throwaway game. It's super fun. Like really really fun to play. Zelda 2, kind of the black sheep of the series, one of my favorite platformers ever. Like
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just hit after hit after hit of really amazing games. Probably you could make an argument that Link to the Past is the best Super Nintendo game. You could make the argument that Link's Awakening is the best handheld game ever.
Right.
Like
mm-hmm.
it's just there's so many. You can make the argument that Ocarina of Time or Breath of the Wild now are the best games period ever.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when I'm looking at that, I just have to go, as a series top to bottom, yeah, in my opinion it's the best and it is my favorite. So looking forward to whatever the next one would be. Um Here's where it gets fun. So I had to pick a single game from this series, and note that the question did not say what do you think the best game in the series is. It's
Right.
what's your favorite game, and as my favorite game, I got to go with Wind Waker. Uh
Mm.
kind of a dark horse pick. I know it definitely has its fans, so it's not like completely out of left
Right.
field. But just as a game that is just condensed pure joy. That is, Wind Waker is so nice to play. It's nostalgic. It's epic. It's really expansive with the ocean and stuff. It's kind of relaxing with the ocean, but then kind of tense in some of the battle sequences. The puzzles are really good. The dungeons, there aren't that many of them, but they are very good as well. And the characterization is probably the best that the series has had, in my opinion. So I don't know. I love Wind Waker. I probably always will. So yeah, that is my favorite game in what I think is the best series.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it's a great choice. It deserves to be one of the best games of all time, Wind Waker. I mean, maybe not. I don't know if a lot of people would say that over Ocarina of Time, but I think Wind Waker is definitely a powerhouse of its own. So, it's that was actually the first game I got for the GameCube, so I've definitely had fond memories of that. Man. Well, so can you guys guess my number one choice?
I mean, I was gonna drop the Call of Duty thing, but Serge already kind of
Yeah,
that.
he did. He did. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with a legit guess and go with Final Fantasy.
Yeah, actually, that's it.
Hey!
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Radar's still working.
Yeah, no, you got it right on the money. It's one of those series that really has a profound effect on my life. Learning about the different types of characters and the personalities that go with them, how they experience the day to day. But with the first one I played, Final Fantasy VIII, with this very stoic character in Squall Leonhardt, I I grew with him. I grew up with him, through the game and learning about his past and just with the characters around him who do care about him and what he has to go through. And on top of that, with the battle sequence, being able to, with the active time battle sequence and, how cool it was to swing a sword and use, Guardian Forces to aid you in battle and Leviathan and Cactuar, the jumbo cactus, which is one of my favorites of all time. Leviathan and jumbo cactuar are my two favorites. And with playing Final Fantasy VII, I mean, Final Fantasy VII is a classic. With the Cloud Strife, and you're learning about his past and the music. I mean, you cannot doubt the music is so good. It's amazing. With those two, I played the older games like Final Fantasy 4, 5, 1 and 2, 3 later on the DS. I played 9, which is still one of my favorites. The music and just the steampunk. It really, the way they did steampunk was amazing. And I even played some of the older ones, or not older ones, the newer ones like 13, which it was not too bad. I mean, it was a good experiment. And then 15, which I've mentioned before, a very good bromance adventure, or a boy band simulator, if you will, but with really good combat. I mean, I'm just gonna keep it real. Like, it was really good combat, but I felt the story could have been executed better. Although I've heard later on with the DLC and some of their updates, the story did make a lot more sense, which is cool. But I gotta go with number 6. Final Fantasy 6 is my favorite Final Fantasy.
Ooh,
I mean,
okay.
the way they developed the characters. There was a good number of characters too, and each of them had their own stories. I really even like a guy named Setzer, the gambler who, flies his own airship. He has his own story, and just even the dialogue, and also with Edgar and Sabin, the twins, and Locke, and oh man, I'm just trying to think of just moments, and even that unique character Gal, like Gal. I mean, like someone who has gone through so much mental like pain and stress, and being abandoned, and finding a family, a home with these characters of all different shapes and backgrounds. Like, what's not to love? And the music is obviously phenomenal. I know
Yes.
I know people are thinking like, what about Final Fantasy 7, Kevin? Well, Final Fantasy 6 though. I mean,
No, I mean, so if I'm picking a favorite, it's 4. So I mean, it's just
4 is really good too.
everybody kind of has their own favorite, which is kind of cool. I like that about the series. It felt a little. I was a little sad to leave Final Fantasy off my list, but that's mostly because I haven't really legitimately played one since 6. So I've
wow.
missed most of the series at this point. But it's really it's an iconic series, and just talking to people, everybody likes the ones that they like for whatever reasons that they have, and you can make a really strong argument for any. I think of them, probably 6 is the easiest one to make an argument for. It's a very quality game. Like, seriously,
it
good
is.
pick on that.
And I hope they can somehow, just put it on the Switch. Even if even in its original form, I would still play it again.
Ooh.
And y'all know I mentioned about Final Fantasy 9 with that one character that has made a big impact on my life. Taking some of the one or two of the traits that he's had, Zidane Tribal. I mean, the guy's like his journey, and being so selfless, helping people without any reason, and
Nice.
sometimes I shed a tear every now and then just thinking about the journey he's been through. Like, even when I play through some of the parts in the game, that just made me feel like, man, this is who I want to be. This is who I want to be in real life if I ever had a chance to get even close to it. So I just try to model after that every day. And I wouldn't be surprised if the developers talk about how Zidane is a model of someone that they know. And I hope that's the case, because I think his character is very relatable. And although it's not my favorite Final Fantasy, I think it is the most. It's one of the two of the most important Final Fantasies for me. That and Final Fantasy 8. So 9-8
for Smash. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that being said, that's our top 5 series for each of us, and I think that we do want to talk about some of the other people in our Discord community that have listed their top series. So, Daryl, if you may, could you read out some of the ones that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we put out the call to our Discord community. What is your favorite gaming series and game in that series? And boy, did we get some responses. So I'm just gonna kind of go through them pretty quick. I don't know how to say this one. I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name, but I have to pronounce it as Shining Ya. Just because it's fun to say. Says, my favorite game series is Animal Crossing.
Nice.
Makes a lot of sense since they came from the Haken Discord. My favorite game in the series is Animal Crossing New Leaf, because it introduced the most features and returned to the franchise to handheld, which I prefer. So, hey, Sergio, you got a friend.
There we go.
Nice. Napping Rat, our good friend Napping Rat, says Max's / Woolwright's Sim series, with SimCity 2000 being my favorite game.
Whoa,
That's
crazy.
That's a cool pick. That's
good.
a really cool pick. I've never personally gotten too far into the SimCity series, but it's always kind of been on my radar. I do want to play it at some point. You guys ever played any SimCity?
No.
I played SimCity 2000 a long time ago. It was definitely my first foray into those simulator games, and there were some games later on in life that I played, like from the Kairosoft series. I don't know if you heard of them, like the Game Dev Simulator, Game Dev Story. That is one of my favorite simulator games.
Sure.
Where you get to simulate yourself as a game developer. You have your own shop, and you hire like artists and developers and musicians, and you try to create a game. Anyway, I'll say that for another day, but
Yeah, he goes on to say, I think it was my most played game in terms of hours until Splatoon 2 came along. So
yo,
wow, that's awesome.
Impressive.
Dragon actually says, this will be a surprising answer, but I have a very deep love for the Kingdom Hearts series, which isn't really centric to Nintendo, but the original Kingdom Hearts is such a magical game. Yeah, agreed.
It is surprising, yeah.
That is a series that I totally regret not getting into, and I wish I did. I for some reason I didn't get a chance to play them, but I mean, if for some reason they can get on the Switch, or maybe I'll make more of an effort to play on it.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I would be on it for sure.
I mean, I'll be on it for sure. Yeah, same. And like,
I see that as a very real possibility. I mean, they're bringing all
You
these
think
Final
so?
Fantasy
Yeah.
games over, so
Yeah.
that's true. That's true.
it's probably a licensing nightmare with Disney and all that. But
Oh,
Oh,
you know, I
goodness.
could still see it happening, and that'd be a very cool moment if it does.
Yeah, or I can just try to get some of the older consoles and, and play the original versions. But I mean, yeah. Here's to I'm gonna knock on wood right now. Here's to hoping that the Kingdom Hearts series comes to the Switch. So.
Yeah.
Boom.
Agreed. Shy Guy says, I love the Super Mario series. The games embody what I love about gaming and are pure fun. Goes on to pick Odyssey as his favorite in the series. So
oh,
another one where the most recent game is his favorite. That's kind of cool.
right.
Skipping a little bit, newer member of our Discord, Coconut, actually comes in with, yeah, it's got to be Mario, but then comes on with Sunshine was the first game I ever owned that I got to play on a TV, so that game remains my favorite.
Yo.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah, we got Mario games, but we picked Odyssey and Sunshine. Those are definitely interesting
Yeah.
picks, but I can't really argue with them because they're both really fun.
They sure are. Actually, there were some other ones too, if I may. Double O Kevin talked about my favorite game series of all time is Mario Kart. It's always been my go-to game for multiplayer fun. I've never heard of anyone get bored of playing Mario Kart, and every game in this series is a gem, and I totally agree. That's why it's in my top 5. I mean, you know, like there's just that charm, that flair of being able to race, and you know,
Yeah.
if you know, shooting lightning bolts, or even getting that blue shell, which could be a pain in the butt. But I mean, you know, it depends on which side you're on with that. I think it's always a good time. And then we have X Stella X, or just Stella.
Stella.
Stella. I gotta say, anything by Bethesda. Doom is amazing. Unfortunately, I missed out on playing the old ones, but the newest one is just so fantastic. That's a pretty awesome choice, you know. So when I think of Bethesda, I think of like the Dishonored series, right? Like Wolfenstein. You know, it for Doom. I mean,
And
that's
even Skyrim.
even Skyrim, which I totally, I gotta be honest. I was tempted to play Skyrim, but I
Oh,
think
man.
I know, but I know that if I were to play, I spent like
No.
thousands and thousands
Yeah.
of hours, and I don't know if I would put it down. So
Nice.
unfortunately, I avoided it. But you know, that's a pretty awesome choice.
Then jumping back to Dragon, he said Super Mario World is probably my honorable mention. So hey, Mario gets a lot of love. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And then jumping over to Chewy, a good friend Chewy and co-host of the Haken podcast. A quote. Take advantage of this. You can make them say anything. Wait. Okay, and then he goes on to say, I'm Decoy DW, aka Daryl of the Nintendo Jump podcast. My favorite game is iCarly. Huh. Nah, he's wrong.
There you go.
It's actually Hannah Montana. Sorry.
Oh. You know, we got Sonic King, definitely Smash Brothers. I mean,
Yay.
short and sweet,
Nice.
simple and neat. I mean, it is. I think that's probably our most talked about favorite video game series in this group so far. Oh no.
I think we're
Super Mario
really
World?
hyped for the new Smash. I
we
think.
are. And then we got our boy Llama Libre. Favorite gaming series is probably Monster Hunter. For you, has to be my favorite in the series so far, and it's also the one that got hooked into me.
Nice.
I love cooperative play and community building, and the game lends itself well to those things. It's the type of game that is like learning to build a muscle and rewards you for the time you put into it. Plus, the monster fights that feel so hard at first feel so easy in comparison when you go back to them. You feel yourself growing as you farm monsters and get their gear. I mean, that's just so rewarding. I mean, that's just pretty rewarding in itself. And
I actually really like Monster Hunter. Like, I didn't get it. I didn't understand it for a long time, but I've been playing it on Switch a lot more, and I like it more than I expected to be honest.
Oh,
mm,
And then finally jumping to good friend Peachy. Very challenging question. It can vary from day to day. Yeah, tell me about it. So he has to say Zelda series, specifically Ocarina of Time. again, it's
Yes.
very hard to argue with the greatest of all time. So, released my love for video games. When my love for video games was at a fever pitch at 10 years old. Yep, same.
Oh.
I hold so many memories with that game, and it was sort of a once in a lifetime experience. Yep. So definitely agree. Also, we kind of didn't mention this, but Ocarina of Time just hit its 20-year anniversary, so we are all officially old. There you go.
Whoa. Oh man.
And that is it for our listener mail. So hey, thanks for writing it in. Honestly, you guys all have great choices.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just amazing that we're able to just talk about our favorite video game series and just looking back, being able to play the games that we loved. I mean, it's a nice reflection to have, and that's gonna do it for episode 23 of the Nintendo Jump Podcast. If you like the podcast, please let us know. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Nintendo Jump. We also have a Facebook group that we'd love for you to join. Heck yeah! We also have a Discord group, which you will find in our show notes.
Which has been really, really active lately and just a lot of fun. So we got some really cool people in our Discord. We'd love for you to come on in.
Yes, and, it's going to be great because we will also discuss in our Discord group upcoming Super Smash Bros. Ultimate tournaments, so please keep on the lookout for that. And if you have any comments or questions about the show or future topic ideas, please write us at NintendoJumpPodcast@gmail.com. We also want to ask that you please give us a review at your podcast app of choice. That really helps more people find us, and we'll appreciate you forever for it. Finally, please keep sending in your favorite video game music. I know that game music episode number 3 is coming. It's coming, but we need your help because it's always fun to hear and get all different types of music from different kinds of video games, and we always get a good kick out of it. And boy, oh boy, y'all know we're going to showcase them, so it's going to be awesome. And with that, we're going to jump out of here. Once again, this is Kevin, and for Daryl and Sergio, thank you for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
iCarly out.